Yes, yes, yes.
But when it comes to marriage, the law defines it on the basis of heterosexual union.
Yes, it's just that ordinarily, people would call both institutions or
Yeah.
both relationships as marriage. But the Marriage Act applies to heterosexual, then the Civil Union Act then applies to. In fact, the Civil Union Act also covers a situation where heterosexual partners want to be in a civil partnership.
Yeah.
Like they want to stay together as partners, but not married in
Yeah.
terms of the Marriage Act.
Mashlalisan.
Yes, so they want to regulate, or that act regulates that kind of a relationship,
Yeah.
because the law or the legislators realize that there's a loophole, because in most cases you have people who are staying together as partners,
Yeah.
but not as husband and wife, but as partners. So now they are recognized in terms of that act. That act recognizes that, and it also recognizes the same sex, I will say, marriage.
Yeah.
Yeah, the same sex marriage, as people call it.
As people call it.
Yes.
But now when we you play for both teams here, because you will
Yeah.
dangle between the two sides in the sense of
Yeah.
you understanding also from a Christian point of view,
Yes.
as well as the other legal point of view.
Yes. Yes.
In your basic understanding, in layman's understanding, if you were to define marriage, what would you say marriage is?
No, I would say it's two people coming together,
Yeah.
two adults coming together, and they are consenting to be joined together
Yeah.
in a marriage context. Yeah, in a marriage relationship.
Yeah.
So you have cases where minors can come and say want to get married,
Yeah.
but in that circumstance, you will need the consent of parents or guardians. Yes, they will have to consent to say no. We are consenting to these two people getting married. Yes.
For their own reasons.
Yeah, for their own reasons. Yeah. So that's how I can define marriage. But so that people can understand it, I can also transcend to the issue of same-sex marriage to say, or yes, it's either it's heterosexual or it's homosexual.
Yeah.
So now, according to our law, it doesn't really matter whether it's a man and a woman, or whether it's a man and a man and
Yeah.
a woman and a woman. The
And-
law accommodates that.
And now that the law and the definition that you have actually given to us, it now begins to make sense in many aspects, because the worst thing that we can ever come to understand, or rather the thing that we may end up misinterpreting, is the fact that people know what marriage is. A lot of people get into this thing without understanding.
Yeah,
Have you come across that?
Yes. A lot. That is why these kind of conversations are so important.
Yeah.
That we can alert, particularly Christians
Yeah.
who intend to get married, to educate them on what marriage is and
Yeah.
what the options are.
Yeah.
And also the issue of property, like the assets, how to regulate assets, the different marriage regimes
Yeah.
that they can enter into. Maybe I can deal with that now.
No, the regimes, we will deal with
Okay.
them later.
Okay.
But I'm interested in the various. Is that maybe I'm jumping into
Yeah.
the area that I don't know.
Yeah.
Are regimes the various options of marriage that we're talking about? In case I make a mistake.
Yeah, when we talk about regimes, we are talking about particularly about how to regulate the property issues, like marriage in community of property, out of community of property,
Yeah.
the issues of accrual.
Let's get there, because
Okay.
especially with Christians,
Yeah.
there's a lot of misconceptions along the way. and some of these things are not particularly for Christians, but they are in general for many people. Talk to us about the different options that exist.
I would start by saying that in South Africa, in our law, the general presumption is that all marriages are in community of property.
All marriages.
Yes, it's a general presumption.
Yeah.
Then I'll explain what excludes or what you should do to exclude the community of property.
Yeah.
So all marriages is a general presumption that they are in community of property.
Is it also because of what it has been widely publicized to say you stay with a woman and everybody else is in the knowledge of that, and it's 3 months. After 3 months, then the whole thing is called marriage. Is it as a result of or rather, does this scenario that I'm painting also bringing in the part which you are about to explain?
Yes, I will explain why. But we every marriage is in community of property.
Yeah.
And then if you want to exclude the community of property, you need to enter into an anti-nuptial contract.
Yeah.
Some they call it a prenup.
Yeah.
In short, we call it ANC, but not the political organization. Yeah, the anti-nuptial contract. In that contract, parties will agree specifically to say our marriage shall be out of community of property.
Yeah.
So in out of community of property, there are also two options. It's whether accrual applies or it doesn't apply. I'll explain what accrual is.
Yeah.
In accrual, we are saying that whatever that accrues
Out of this marriage.
out of this marriage, then we will share at the end, at the dissolution of the marriage.
So basically, you're saying we get in with 100,000 worth of ourselves,
Yes.
and then 2 months later we are at 500 each. So if it is accrual, it means that we will share the 500.
Yes, what usually happens is that we look at the spouse whose estate has accrued more.
Okay.
Sometimes in the prenup or the ANC, parties would agree that the net commencement value of our respective assets is zero, for example. Is zero, is nil.
Yeah.
Then, let's say all of them is nil, but they decide to divorce maybe after a period of 5 years.
Yeah.
And when they divorce, the wife now has a million and the husband has 500,000.
Yeah.
So it is clear that the estate of the wife has accrued more than the estate of the husband.
Yeah.
Then they will have to share half of the difference.
Okay.
The difference is 500,000.
Yeah.
Then the 500,000 will be split into two, and the husband will get that one.
250, 250.
In short, what we usually call it, we say this one is a postponed in community of property.
Yeah.
Because if you look at it, at the end of it, then they share equally.
Yeah.
So it's like it's a postponed in community of property. But throughout the marriage, there's no communal or community of property.
Yeah.
But at the dissolution thereof, then that it applies. The accrual applies. We'll look at whose estate has accrued more, and they will share equally. There is equality after all.
Yeah. But before you go on to the next one,
Yes.
what happens in the event of one spouse, especially the one who has accrued more, passes on?
Yes, no, the same thing applies, because in law, when we talk about the dissolution of marriage, we always refer to either divorce or death. So the same consequences will apply.
Okay.
Yes. So the second part is when there is no accrual. So this one, we call it is an absolute or the complete out of community of property. Here, when
What
the marriage,
you have is what you have.
even on dissolution, what you have is what you have, what I have is what I have. So those are so people should know, I want to emphasize this.
Yeah.
Every marriage is in community of property,
Yeah.
unless you have entered into an anti-nuptial contract.
Hey,
And that anti-nuptial contract must be valid, must be prepared by a notary. So you don't just write down a piece of paper, no.
Yeah.
And even customary marriage, even if it's not registered at the Home Affairs, it's in community of property. So don't don't be surprised upon divorce. Your wife says, I need half, the estate must be divided equally. And then you say, no, but no, we never signed at the Home Affairs. I've heard a lot of people saying that no, we never signed at the Home Affairs. Why does she want half of my estate? But if it can be proven that your marriage has satisfied the requirements of a valid customary marriage, then she'll be entitled to half of the estate.
That same paper which people have signed during local negotiations.
Yes, that one will be produced as evidence to support or to prove that indeed a customary marriage was entered into. The two families have met and they negotiated, and it was entered into or celebrated in accordance with the customs of those particular parties.
Yeah.
Yes.
So are the options complete?
Yes, those are the options.
These are the options.
It's either it's in community of property or out of community of property. Out of community of property, you've got those two options. It's either accrual applies or it doesn't apply.
Hey, this is where it's actually getting tougher now. And I believe that before we even delve deeper into this conversation, let us take a short break. And Advocate Gogome is not going anywhere. We are coming back to conclude this conversation.
He's not afraid. He speaks his mind. He likes the challenge. He's your first aid guy. He's called to resuscitate your thoughts, your dreams, your passions. Mano speaks motivation. He has a passion to influence. He is a passionate leader. He teaches inspiration, enthusiasm, awareness, courage, acceptance, faith, decision making, and action. He is the principal of radio. He's an author. He's a leadership coach. He's certified school leadership coach. He's an entrepreneur. He is a soft skills trainer. Ladies and gentlemen, please stand up and put your hands together for the principal. Mano Ramadwa.
Welcome back to Resuscitation Leadership Conversations. My name is Mano Ramadwa, and I'm still sitting here with Advocate Kharikhode Gogome of Gogome Attorneys. Those who are able to stand up for you in court and decide and discuss on issues of marriage. But tonight he's here to enlighten us, as this show is all about enlightenment and resuscitation into the concept of leadership. And this is also leadership.
Yes.
Let's talk about, you have explained about these
The
whole
regimes.
situations about regimes. And I want to find out some of the common problems that you have realized, especially with the Christian folk, where sometimes people get into this, and there is also this whole issue about how can a Christian go into a marriage and then they go in with a contract. Are they already
Anticipating divorce? Yeah.
Share with us, what are the common challenges that you have actually experienced before you talk to us about the bigger issue?
Yeah, as a point of departure, thank you very much once again. Or let me just correct something before we proceed. The issue of titles, my titles. People will be wondering, an advocate running an attorney's firm. In fact, I'm an attorney, but people usually call me advocate. So I just want to clear that to our sensitive viewers who might be questioning that. An advocate, but a director of a law firm. How does this? So let me correct that. Yeah. To answer your question, as a point of departure, I think it will apply, or what applies to one may not apply to others.
Yeah.
Because here you are, these are two parties who are intending to get married. You have one who is deep into debts.
Yeah.
You have one who's deep into debts. Remember, if you are in committee of property,
Yours is mine.
yours is mine,
Including
mine is
debt.
yours. Yes, the bad and the good.
Yeah.
So your debts are my debts. So you are my assets. Your assets.
Yeah.
So in those cases, you would advise to say no, or maybe there's a history of recklessness in terms of dealing with finances. You would then advise that no, it's better in this context that people should go out of committee of property.
Yeah.
Again, sometimes one of them may be intense or is already in business. And there's a higher risk in business. You can go down. I mean, it happens. So
Tomorrow the stocks go down and then
to protect the other person, then you can enter into a marriage out of committee of property. So it's a question that will apply. It will depend on the circumstances. What applies to you may not apply to me.
yeah.
But those are the options that we present to people who intend to get married. But it's for them to choose which one applies or will apply better to them.
But the one who is coming in as an underdog will always feel like, no, I'm being intentionally excluded.
Yeah, I think it's a question of understanding,
Yeah.
and also what you intend. I mean, to say, well, okay, is it all about properties,
Property. Yeah.
or is it all about love? And if one is saying that I want to protect you in what may happen in the future, then that person loves you. Because he's saying that I don't want you to be blacklisted together with me.
Yeah.
Should I be blacklisted, then it's better because you will remain clear, so we can still use you to buy some
Your
assets.
advantage, yeah.
Yeah, because in those kind of environment where it's out of control property, you can still buy as a man, you can as a husband, you can still buy a house using your wife's name.
Yeah.
So that wife is protected. She has a house.
And it becomes
in
an
her
advantage
name.
at that.
It becomes an advantage.
Yeah.
So it depends on how one looks at it. But yes, I can agree there are people who abuse the system, who can play around and abuse the system. And I'm not encouraging that. But what I'm saying is that people should know about all these options and choose which one works better for them.
Yeah. And when advising people at that particular level, people who are intending to get into marriage, and you are giving all these options, have you found situations where people will decide and say, no, it doesn't matter what the situation is, we're just heading into it, and yours is mine, mine is yours, regardless of your standing in the financial sectors and things like that. Does it apply? And a lot of times when you interact,
It happens. And I think for Christians, sometimes it's caused by the teachings that we are taught about marriage. To say in marriage, it's one flesh, we are one flesh. I don't dispute that. I uphold that biblical principles. But however, we should be realistic to the challenges that we are facing. So yes, you have those cases where people will tell you that, no, I'm a Christian, I'm taking a risk, yes. No, what is mine is yours, what is yours is mine. In fact, there are other pastors who will never marry you if you are marrying otherwise. They strictly marry you if you are marrying in committee of property.
yeah.
They don't entertain other things.
What causes that? Is it an issue of we want to also be comfortable with the decision that you're making for this woman, or for this particular marriage that you're getting into?
Yeah, they think you will commit when you are in committee of property.
Yeah.
They think the commitment differs when there is exclusion of, or when there is separation of assets. or estate, they think that no, you won't be fully committed. So you'll be fully committed if there is income of property. But the very same pastors have insurances.
Yeah.
They have
And there are
insurances.
risks
There are
involved.
risks involved.
And
They have
they-
insurances on their cars. They have insurances on their phones. They have life covers. They have everything. They have insurances on their houses, on their churches, on their church instruments. Why? Because even what we don't like or desire might happen. So we must be realistic, Bafunzi. Or we are dealing with there is divorce.
Yeah.
So we must be realistic to that.
Yeah.
So the church must be realistic to that.
Well, some of us have experienced that, so we are very realistic about
It. Yes, yes, yes. So we cannot ignore those things when we enter into marriage.
Yeah.
We cannot ignore those realities. I'm not saying people should enter into marriage with one foot out and one in. But I'm saying that know the options that are available to you and choose.
And you see, when you say know the options that are available for you, and I do understand, because, this time around, I think we had this conversation a couple of weeks ago on this show, where we were also saying, in the past, the church was very silent about the issues of divorce. And I know divorce is part of our conversation in the next segment. But, as a result of that, so many things have gone wrong because it was a potato that nobody wanted to actually touch. And now, this is another potato, which is potentially leaving people disparate after certain situations, or sometimes leaving people into deeper than where they were when they started, depending on where the pendulum swung to. And I think it's one of those things that we need to not only commit into discussing, but also educating people about this kind of situations.
True. No, I fully agree. We need serious education with regards to this. That is why I would encourage pastors out there to say that as a pastor, during your premarital counseling, these legal issues should be dealt with thoroughly.
Yeah.
We
Just
don't
as
want a situation where our young people enter into marriages without understanding these options that are available to them. If we really love them and want to protect them, we should deal with it. Why do you take them for HIV testing?
Yeah. Hey.
Because I know some churches, they will say, no, we need your HIV results here.
Yeah.
So why don't we also thoroughly deal with the issue of finances in the marriage? Because these are critical issues.
Because it creates comfort.
It does.
It creates peace of mind when someone gets into it in that way with full knowledge.
Indeed, it does.
Let us take a short break. When we come back, we are going to talk about the hot potato, the divorce issue, immediately in the case of law. Not just a divorce around issues of religion or Christianity, but divorce in this particular case when we're dealing with the issues of law. When we come back, Advocate Gogome and I continue this conversation.
I've had this problem.
Big problem.
I really need it.
Professional services.
And I kept searching and searching.
There are so many choices.
It's really hard to find one that has all the things on my list.
But I finally did it.
Yes. Thank you.
If you are looking for one as well,
look no further.
Here's a really good one.
Just use mine.
Use mine.
I'm very satisfied.
Definitely recommend.
Problem gone.
thank you.
Welcome back to Resuscitation Leadership Conversations. My name is Mano Ramadwa, and this show comes to you live from Greater Glory International Ministries. And of course, the pastor of this house is Pastor Ron Rambe. I'm sitting with Advocate Okay.
Mr. Gogome.
Mr. Gogome. Our legal mind around here, Mr. Gogome. Let me get used to that.
You're forgiven. You're forgiven.
We are talking about a conundrum now. We are talking about the issue of divorce. Now, how do we handle the issue of divorce immediately, regardless of whether we are Christian and all that? But if you have committed and you are in community of property or out of community of property, but when this eventual opportunity comes, whether it's an opportunity or not, but when that minute comes, then there must be issues to be thought about.
True.
Talk to us about the divorce issue itself.
Yes, yeah. As a Christian, I cannot divorce myself from the realities, and also the role that pastors and other parties should play in the divorce process.
Yeah.
I strongly believe that in the divorce process, social workers, if necessary, they should play a very significant role. Pastors should also play a role. And lawyers will play their role as well.
Okay. I know you're going to talk about lawyers, because that's what we are here for today.
Yes.
The other role players that you spoke about, what would be their role in the divorce, if you were to share them?
Pastors, for example, they were involved in the marriage.
Yeah.
Why not involve them in the dissolution? Why not?
Yeah.
Because I believe, Bafunzi, that the divorce should be managed well.
Yeah.
As much as marriage process should be managed well. So hence, I strongly believe that pastors should be involved.
Yeah.
Spiritual counseling is needed during the divorce process.
Yeah.
Because there is an issue which is very serious, the issue of condemnation. Condemnation.
Yeah.
People who are divorced, most of them feel condemned.
Somebody said in a church, and I don't know whether you have experienced this, but somebody was saying many churches can have conferences for the youth, unmarried. They can have conferences for fathers and mothers. They can do anything, but divorcees.
Yes.
So I guess that's where you're coming from.
That's where I'm coming from, to say that process must be managed.
Yeah.
During the divorce, there should be proper spiritual management, or management from the spiritual leaders. And after the divorce, there should be that management.
Yeah.
So hence I'm saying that pastors should be involved. Then social workers, psychologists, those people are needed as well.
Social workers, I'm sure when divorce happens, especially where there are children, those are critical in assisting.
True. Because they will be called upon to look, particularly when there is a settlement agreement.
Yeah.
They will be called upon to look, to check if the arrangement that is in place with regards to the role, the rights and the responsibilities of parents over the children, they will have to check if those arrangements are in the best interest of the children.
Yeah.
So in some cases, social workers will have to consult with the children involved, just to check what are they comfortable with, if they are of the age where they can, put their views out. Then they will be listened to, and then a report will be compiled, and then and recommendations will be made, and the court will then be assisted by those recommendations in arriving at a particular decision. That applies particularly where there is no settlement agreement. But where there is a settlement agreement, they will just check if the settlement agreement, if proper provisions are there that cover or that uphold the best interest of the minor children that are involved.
Yeah.
So hence I'm saying that those are parties that are also involved as well. But besides that, outside that scope of formal referral through the courts to the family advocate and social workers, I believe that parties should take it upon themselves to say, okay, here we are.
Yeah.
These children were so attached to us. They were used.
Knowing what is happening in the morning when we wake up.
Exactly.
Yeah.
They were so used to daddy taking them and dropping them at school. They were so used to eating dinner together with mommy and daddy.
Yeah.
But now things have changed.
That disruption.
And it's not their choice.
Yeah.
So then it should be incumbent upon the parents to say, let's refer these children for counseling. Let a specialist sit with them and just assess how they are coping with this separation, how they are coping with these divorce issues. As I'm saying that outside the law,
The prescript of the law.
we should also look at this spiritual part, psychological part, social, we should look at all these issues. As I'm saying that pastors, spiritual leaders should be involved, social workers, psychologists, maybe even family members where possible, they should be involved. But I'm saying that divorce is so emotional to a point where I cannot only address it on the legal side of it, because it's very broad and it involves a lot of emotions and a lot of aspects.
Yeah.
Yes.
But of course, we are here to talk about
The law.
The law.
Yeah, the law. Sometimes it's not easy to separate this pastoral, church responsibilities and these law firm responsibilities. Yes, in terms of the law, when you divorce, the consequences will depend on the marriage regime.
Yeah.
Like what we have indicated before. If you are in community of property, then ordinarily there should be equal division of the joint estate. We equally divide the good and the bad. That is the assets and the liabilities.
So it's a matter of a pair of scissors coming
Yes, equally. We share the bad and the good equally. Yes, unless if we can arrange otherwise. Parties are allowed to agree otherwise.
Yeah.
To say, okay, no, let us not share equally. We can share 70-30, 80-20, or no, keep everything. It happens.
Yeah.
Then if it's out of community of property with accrual, what I've explained before will apply. Then we'll look at whose estate has accrued more, and then we share half of the difference. If it's complete out, then I keep what is mine, you keep what is yours. So usually those are the consequences, because people usually they want to know what is going to happen to my house.
What's going to happen?
What is going to happen to my pension? Yeah. So from my experience, is that usually what parties fight against, what they battle with during the divorce process, is the issue of assets, and is the issue of estate, not assets. Let me use the right terminology: the estate, and the issue of children.
Yeah.
Those are the main issues that parties fight for.
Let's separate these issues, because these are critical issues, and given the magnitude of the cases that are coming up in terms of divorce, you will realize that these issues have now become bigger issues. Let's talk estate first. Contestations that happen, and you were explaining before to say that when it is an in community of property, equal division. Why are there contestations? Is it an issue of entitlements that perhaps you may have come across?
Yes. No, usually the contestations will be around the fact that no, this person never contributed anything.
Yeah.
I'm the one who built this house. All the furniture that is in this house,
I
bought it. No. He or she can't take half of it. I worked very hard for this. No, my pension, I've worked for 20 years.
Yeah.
She can't have half of my pension. So those are And these are people who were married in control of property for maybe more than 20 years.
So suddenly people remember what they bought.
Exactly. Suddenly people remember that no, I signed for this.
Yeah.
So hence I said in our introduction, in our first segment, that the issue of education around this is very, 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 very important. People should know that once it's in control of property, whether this other one contributed or not, but at the dissolution of marriage, it must be equal division of the joint estate.
My listener out there, it is important to understand that, because this is a critical part. It's important to understand that when that moment comes, when you contemplate splitting, you need to do your best to avoid that, because there you will end up remembering the teaspoon that you bought.
Indeed.
And the dress that you bought for someone during some kind of event and things like that.
Indeed.
Now, can we go into another aspect, this aspect of children?
Yes.
And the custody there?
Yes. What I can say is that both parents have equal rights and responsibilities towards the minor children.
Yeah.
When we talk about children, in terms of the Children's Act, we are talking about anyone who's below the age of 18.
Yeah.
So both parents have equal rights and responsibilities. Meaning that when we talk about rights, the father wants to have time with the children, those are the rights he has. Responsibilities, we talk about maintenance, both should maintain their children equally. Yeah. But obviously, we cannot ignore their ability to maintain thereof.
But that's where a lot of questions come in, the ability. And how do we get to determine that ability? Because you will find that sometimes it's an issue of, no, that one works and he earns so much and I need so much, and all of a sudden you find that what the mother, or rather the other party, believes in, and it can be both ways, starts to believe that no, the other party can actually give more to this, whereas when they were living together, the spending was not even up to that extent.
Yes. The point of departure will be both parties have equal responsibilities.
Yeah.
But this aspect of maintenance, usually in divorce matters, we refer them to a specialized court, which is a maintenance court.
Yeah.
We can finalize with divorce, but the issue of maintenance can remain at the maintenance court. The maintenance court will look at the need and the affordability.
Yeah.
They will look at the needs of the children and the affordability of respective parents.
Aye, man. I know. Why? There's a gentleman I know recently who has actually been sanctioned to pay 95,000 rand maintenance.
Yes.
Which child spends 90,000 in a month?
Hence the issue of need and affordability.
Yeah.
And I mean, a need to one may not be a need to another. To someone, cheese and polony is a need.
Yeah.
But to someone, it's not. To someone, a sneaker of 5,000 is a need.
It's a need.
To someone, it's not. So we cannot ignore the kind of lifestyle that parties conducted or they lived before or during the marriage.
There you have actually brought the issue.
Yes.
It's a lifestyle issue.
Yes.
That was created during the time
Throughout.
of marriage.
Yes.
Which now continues.
It must be maintained.
Hey.
That lifestyle must be maintained. So in maintenance court, both parents will be called and they will have to produce, their income statements and all that, proof of income, expenses and all that, until a decision is made on how much they should each contribute, or until they agree, because even there, they are given an opportunity to agree, to consent, to say, okay, I will pay 5,000. Okay, I will pay this much. I will pay for the school fees. I will pay for, I will buy clothes twice in a year, winter and summer, all those kind of arrangements.
And while now we are talking about all those kind of arrangements and stuff, but I also want us to touch on a critical aspect of this divorce as well, where you find that one divorce matter goes into court, 3 months down the line, it's settled. Another divorce matter goes into court, and then 4 or 5 years later, it's still debated. What are the issues around?
No, the issues are the divorce that doesn't last long, or the process that does not last long. It is because parties would have agreed to say, no, we agree that the marriage has irretrievably broken down. Maybe let me explain that point. That for you to seek a divorce in our law, you must prove that the marriage has irretrievably broken down, and that there is no prospect of restoration of a normal marriage relationship between the parties.
How does one prove it?
It's either you prove it by saying that, no, we have not lived together as husband and wife for more than a year. The other party maybe has committed adultery, and I feel that I cannot live with it, and I no longer have love and affection for him. There are certain factors that you can list to support that. But if the marriage has broken down, or you are saying one party is saying, I no longer want to continue, and according to me, this marriage no longer exists, the court cannot force the other.
That's what I wanted you to say, because when I got exposed to that word, that phrase, that the court cannot force the other one to remain in marriage, when the other one is saying it's over.
No, the court cannot force, as long as the court is satisfied that indeed there is no longer a normal marriage relationship between the parties. Remember, marriage is between two parties. So if one is saying, no, I no longer want, then there's no marriage. There's no marriage.
It's consensual and...
Exactly. It's consensual. So if that consent, or if that meeting of minds no longer exists, then there's no marriage anymore.
It feels more like we can take a little break, and when we come back, we will actually be wrapping up this conversation with Mr. Gogome Kharikhode.
Thank you.
I've had this problem.
Big problem.
I really need it.
And I kept searching.
And searching.
There are so many choices.
But I finally did it.
Yes. Thank you.
If you were looking for one as well,
Look no further.
Here's a really good one.
Just use mine.
Use mine.
I'm very satisfied.
Definitely recommend.
Problem gone.
thank you.
Back to Resuscitation Leadership Conversations. My name is Mano Ramadwa, and we are coming to you live from Greater Glory International Ministries. And of course, this show comes to you every Monday from 6 o'clock until 7 o'clock. And if you have missed out, we were talking about the critical issue of marriage and law. And to help us on this one, while we are wrapping this conversation, is advocate. Okay, not advocate, but it's Mr. Kharikhode Gogome, who is an attorney, and he leads a law firm called Gogome Attorneys. Kharikhode, here is a situation. We have broken down every little aspect of marriage and law. But you're a specialist here. And there are things that you have actually come across many, many times. What would you share to the listener and the viewer out there in terms of what the whole situation is all about?
We cannot exhaust everything during this time that we have.
Yeah.
So, as a way of a summary, I can say that before one or parties should enter into a marriage, they should seek legal advice. And they should consider the issues of what happens to our assets in this marriage. What happens? And then should we divorce? what should happen?
Yeah.
Who should stay with the children? How do we, even during this marriage, how do we protect our assets? How do we make sure that whatever that we are working for does not just go through the drain?
Yeah.
How do we manage? How do we plan for our marriage? How they should look at themselves, their respective circumstances,
Yeah.
to say, okay, with this history of misusing money, with this history of mismanagement of finances,
Yeah.
should I enter into incommutable property with this person? This person is under debt counseling, for example.
Yeah.
Should I then marry incommutable property with this person? Because the life that we are living now, most of the things we have are financed.
Yeah.
Our cars are financed. Our houses are financed.
Our
Our
lifestyle.
phones, unfortunately, some even their clothes are financed. So we cannot, ignore that in one way or the other, almost every day, we enter into credit agreements in their different forms. So in those, and by doing that, so it means that if I'm married in control property, then in one way or the other, my spouse will be affected by my decisions.
Yeah. And I think that is critical.
Yes.
To say the decision that I'm making today is bound to affect this person that I love
It does.
for their entire life.
For their entire life, because
and that's where decisions must be made and honestly made.
yes, because I've seen it when a consumer wants to be under a debt review process. If you are married in control property, they will have to do it jointly
Yeah.
with a person who's never into debts.
Yeah.
But that person is into debts by default of being married in control property. Maybe that person is very clean, individually.
Yeah.
But because he or she's married to this one, now they must do it jointly.
Yeah.
So those are the things that we should look at. To say, okay, when I'm dealing with these debts of mine, at least if we're married in out of community of property, then there's a relief. Because this other one it's free to transact. It's free to enter into various credit agreements.
Yeah.
Whereas I am not, because once you are under debt review, you cannot enter into subsequent credit agreements.
Yeah.
Yes, you can't. So if you want to buy a car, you cannot buy a car on credit. You can't go and approach a certain vehicle finance institution for finance.
Yeah.
They won't finance you. But whilst you're still dealing with that, you can still buy a car using your wife's details. You can buy a car for your wife.
After all, you're married.
You are married.
And
So,
you stand up for each other. You protect one another.
yes, so the issues of finance are very, 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 very important. These are the issues that people should deal with. But however, I will encourage them to say, seek advice, go to a legal advisor. Usually, even some banks, they offer these services. You go to your financial advisor, they will advise you of these marriage issues. To say, or these are the options available to you. They will have to look at your circumstances wholly, and then advise on what can be applicable to you. That is why I cannot stand here and prescribe which marriage regime works better.
Yeah.
Because it depends on the circumstances. It may work better for you, but not work better for me.
Yeah.
So I cannot prescribe a certain regime. But having consulted with relevant parties, that is when one can advise to say, guys, when I look at your circumstances, I advise this.
And it is also important to be honest when looking for such kind of advice.
True. Perfect. If you want a proper advice, be honest.
Be honest.
And the issue of honesty, Bafunzi,
Yeah.
is so unfortunate that sometimes when people get married, they are not even open to each other as far as their finances are concerned.
Yeah.
They even fail to disclose that I once had an account with Edgar's when I was still at university and I defaulted in paying that, or I once had a contract phone and I defaulted. You'll be surprised one day you are applying for a house and they decline you
Yeah.
just for a clothing account.
Just that little thing.
That was opened some 10 years ago before you even met. But these disclosures are very, 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 very important.
Now, you're an attorney. You're running a very successful law firm, Gogome Attorneys. Talk to us about.
Okay. No, Gogome Attorneys, we are a law firm. Our main principal place of business is number 5 Blackwood Street in Florida Park. Yes, here in Rodiport. In Joburg West, along the Ondekas Road. We are not far from this Spa Florida Junction. Yeah, we're just around that area. That's where we are. We are more of a general practice. We have different departments within our practice. This, what I was addressing about today, is one of the departments we have in our law firm. We also have a department of personal injury claims, where people are injured or they died in car accidents and all that. We assist them with claims against the Road Accident Fund. We also deal with the issues of evictions, the issues of debt cancelling. We deal with those issues. So we are so general in our practice. We have different departments within us, and also the issues of the labor matters. We deal with those as well. So if you have any legal issue and you want to contact us, you can call me directly, or you call the office, or you WhatsApp us, or you can even check our Facebook page. And you set up an appointment, you come to our offices, and then we'll consult with you. To churches and pastors out there, if you want me to come and address
some of these critical issues,
the potential spouses, then I'm more than ready to come and address these marriage issues in your church or with those who are intending to get married. Our numbers 081 751 4981. That's my direct number. You can also WhatsApp me. And our landline 011 333 0018 011 333 0018. Our Facebook page is Gogome Attorneys. Email, you can email me at khari@gogome.co.za. Khari, it spells KHARI @gogome, GOGOME.co.za.
Thank you so much for coming through and enlightening us and resuscitating us and giving us an opportunity to get to understand what the law and all these other legalities concerning marriage is concerned. If we are to call you for any other at some point, please feel free to come back.
No, thank you. Thank you very much for this opportunity. Much appreciated. And may God bless our viewers.
When you get more knowledge, you get enlightened. When you are dying in a particular area of your life, you get resuscitated. And tonight, that's where we ended. I am the resuscitation coach, Mano Ramado. You can actually get in touch with me by going on to www.manoramadwa.com. You can also touch base with me on my Facebook page, Mano Resuscitation Coach Ramadwa, or Mano Speaks Resuscitation. Until we meet again next week, God bless you.